2018 is clearly the year where the $1,000 flagship phone became the norm, and unlike other phones in this price range, Samsung isn't forcing users to compromise on one component or another. Instead, they're offering what's easily the most full-featured, well-rounded design of any smartphone, even if you have to pay a significant premium to get it. What in the world is so expensive? Let's start with the configurations. Two main models exist, one version with 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage, or the upgraded model with 8 gigs of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. The leap in storage amounts between each model is pretty insane by most accounts, and the likelihood that even power users will ever fill this phone up is pretty small. The 6 gigs of RAM on our review unit felt like plenty too, and those that opt for the 8 gig version will likely be even happier. Part of this is good RAM management, where Samsung's background task management does not go overboard, but most of what makes a Samsung phone a multitasking beast is down to everything you can do with it. Samsung was the pioneer of multi-window split screen on phones, and they've consistently improved this feature over the years too. It's not really anything new for the Note 9 in regards to this, but it's incredible just how much can be done on a 6.4-inch screen, especially when you factor in the precision and note-taking abilities that the S Pen enables. The S Pen doesn't appear much different from previous years, looking and feeling essentially identical to previous models, but it's inside where Samsung has made some very important changes. While all previous S Pen models have been fully passive devices, requiring no power at all to work their magic, this year's S Pen features a Bluetooth radio inside, as well as a supercapacitor to power it. The Bluetooth features are all extra though, as the base writing functionality is still that same fantastic performance we've seen from the S Pen for 6 years now, and this writing functionality requires no extra power at all. Rather, that Bluetooth functionality in the phone is used completely for the remote control features, and a handful of apps are able to utilize this at launch too. By default, pressing and holding the button on the S Pen will launch the camera, double tapping it flips between the front and rear cameras, and single tapping takes a picture. You can also use this to navigate forward or backward in Chrome, pause, play, or skip during any media playback, and various other actions in a few apps. The extremely small selection of apps is the biggest problem with this feature, as it requires developer integration to work with a specific app, unless it's something system level like pausing or playing media. This is a big blow to what could otherwise be a super awesome feature, and ultimately means that the list of supported apps is probably not going to grow by leaps and bounds anytime soon. Samsung has thankfully designed the S Pen's power source in an incredibly intelligent way, as that supercapacitor inside only takes 40 seconds to charge, and is done so while resting inside the body of the Note, rather than plugged in some awkward way or having to change the batteries out. It's rated to last about 30 minutes or 200 clicks per charge, whichever comes first, and while that does not sound like a long time, the likelihood that you're holding the S Pen for 30 minutes at a time and are still clicking the button are probably pretty low. Certainly a point for improvement in the next version, but it's fine given the limited capability at this time. Ergonomically, the S Pen has not changed much in a while. It's much smaller than a normal pen and quite a bit lighter too, although this one seems a little more sturdy than past models. My biggest beef with it is that there's no physical differentiation between the front and the back of the pen, the front of course being visually separated thanks to the button, but when holding it I find I often flip it upside down unintentionally and constantly have to look back at it to figure out where that button went. It's symmetrical so that you can fit it inside the phone without having to figure out which direction it goes in, but personally I'd rather have a clear front and back to help when holding it. A regular pen obviously doesn't have this type of design, but a regular pen also doesn't have a button on it. Multitasking takes yet another giant leap forward this year, thanks to the newly redesigned DeX, which is a desktop computer-like interface that Samsung has been toying around with since the Galaxy S8. Previous generations of phones require a special dock to utilize this mode, acting similar to a laptop dock that you place on the desk, but this time around all you need is a simple $15 USB Type-C to either HDMI or DisplayPort cable instead. Plug one of these cables in and the phone will mirror the screen by default, or switch to DeX at the press of a button. The interface from here is similar to what you'll find on a desktop computer or laptop, complete with fully resizable windows and all that desktop OS goodness, as well as compatibility with pretty much any app installed on the phone. What's more impressive is that you can not only use the phone screen as a touchpad like you'll find on a laptop, but that you can even pair a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard with the phone, allowing you to use the phone like normal, all while simultaneously using it like a desktop computer. A dock will also enable charging while using this mode, so that's certainly a more preferable way to do things if you commonly use decks, but for occasional use, this is a great way to get a bunch of stuff done in a more efficient way. A big piece of the puzzle for increasing productivity relies heavily on battery life, and while last year's Note 8 actually shrunk the battery just a tad, this year's increases the size by about 30%. This new 4000 mAh battery is a really big deal, matching phones like the Huawei P20 Pro in size, and only adding 0.2 millimeters of thickness to the body and less than 10 grams to the weight. Don't expect 2-day battery life out of the phone just because the battery is quite a bit larger though. Samsung does not advertise it as such, and there's a good reason for this. In fact, their claims are spot on. This is definitely a full day's battery life and not much more, no matter how much or little you do with it. 3 hours or 7 hours of screen on time resulted in fairly similar battery life over the day, and it's pretty clear the phone is designed to power through tasks rather than having the stamina for more than a day. It's got that same Snapdragon 845 and Exynos 9810 combination as the Galaxy S9, but features a new water carbon cooling system for sustained performance, which means part of what's going to be draining that battery a bit more is the extra performance Samsung is able to pull out of these components over longer periods of time, owing the additional stamina in this area to better thermal management, ultimately meaning you can play mobile games for longer without slowdown. Samsung has also improved the speed of the radios inside, often besting every other phone we had for testing. Only the HTC U12 Plus had similar speeds on T-Mobile US here, but the Galaxy Note 9 regularly had worse signal strength. In fact, I ended up using the Huawei P20 Pro as a hotspot while out hiking one weekend because it still had 2 bars of LTE, while the Note 9 had 0 signal at all. So basically, it's faster when it's got a signal, but other flagships tend to do a better job of latching onto poor signal. Even in my house, I regularly found that the Note 9 had 0 bars and relied mostly on Wi-Fi calling to get things done, while other phones don't have this problem. Well, there aren't any major new features outside of what's been mentioned, but it's well worth noting what Samsung has added to the Galaxy ecosystem this year, including what works best on the Note 9. The amount of features and options available out of the box are dizzying enough, and then Samsung goes and offers even more customization and personalization via a handful of awesome new apps for 2018 available in the Galaxy App Store for free. These apps allow you to truly customize the phone and make it look and feel how you want. Do you prefer a horizontal or vertical carousel for that multitasking screen? Whatever your preference, it's just a few simple clicks away, and you can even customize the animation and size of the cards here too. Would you rather use gestures instead of that software-based navigation bar at the bottom? Samsung utilizes the curved screen for their gestures instead of using the bottom bezel, with swipe actions from left and right bezels for any action you want, with the ability to change actions for each side of the screen independently. The small handles on the side look nearly identical to the ones on the edge screen, and effectively behave the same way too. This can be completely customized down to the size, shape, opacity, and of course actions, and there are plenty of other things in the Good Lock 2018 app, as it's called, which allow you to fully customize the UI elements all around. These customizations are independent of the system themes, of which there are probably a gazillion different themes on the Galaxy App Store at this point, but this Good Lock 2018 app lets you theme the look and feel of the quick toggles bar, add in a multi-window quick button to notifications so you can quickly pop up the app that's notifying you without having to navigate away from the app you're currently using, completely change the look and feel of your lock screen, totally customize the edge lighting effect, and so on and so forth. It's the most customization available for any phone on the market right now, but most of it is very much hidden away since you'll have to download that app from the Galaxy App Store, so keep that in mind if you're looking for even more customization than what comes out of the box. All in all, this phone is stupid good. Almost too good even, and many of the problems we have are nitpicky or fairly minor issues. That $1,000 price tag still begs the question though. Despite the insane amount of features, despite the excellence in user experience or design, is a phone really worth this much money? Personally, I can't do it. It's just too much. These things are just too replaceable nowadays, and while Samsung absolutely provides a superior experience with the Note 9, it's still quite a lot to ask to spend in the end. Is it more worth it for you? That may certainly be the case, especially if you hold on to phones longer, and Samsung definitely makes a compelling argument with these specs. We hope you enjoyed that review and will subscribe to us for regularly updated content. Chat with us on your favorite social media network, and don't forget to check out AndroidHeadlines.com for 24/7 tech news coverage. Thanks for watching, and until next time.